Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. How can you use AI in your wedding and event business? This is an Ask Me Anything. Listen, I'll give you some ideas. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, sales trainer, consultant, author, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have a little more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hey, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. This is an Ask Me Anything from Olivia in Portugal. So thank you so much for listening in Portugal, Olivia. And the question was, Olivia is a planner, and how can they use AI in their planning business? So I'm going to go just for one idea in this one, maybe a couple of ideas, because I could be on this for hours. I'm actually doing new workshops about this. But let me just start with some ideas just to get your juices flowing. And the first thing I want to do is talk about the difference between some different AI platforms. And the first is you have ChatGPT, you have Perplexity, right? Those are the two that I tend to use. There's also Claude, CLAUDE .ai. There's also Grok, and there's many, many others that are out there. The difference between some of these, ChatGPT, I have found is the best for this different types of analysis and reasoning, taking your content and playing around with it to make it better or do different things with it. And then with Perplexity is really good for research because it has more current access, whereas ChatGPT doesn't have the most recent stuff that's online. Perplexity is going to search many, many different things and give you the sources to them. You have to ask Chat to give you the sources. Perplexity is going to give you those sources so you can cite and see what it is. Very important. Don't take anything as gospel that you read there. Do your own research and due diligence and make sure, because there is something called hallucinations with AI where they can kind of make stuff up because they're pulling different stuff in or get things wrong. So Perplexity, as of now, when I'm recording this in February, has now taken on DeepSeek, which is this Chinese AI that's been turning the AI world upside down, but they've brought it onto their own servers in the US and in the UK so that it's now protected. Your information is not going back to China, because if you read the privacy terms on DeepSeek, the original version, they own your data. They can do whatever they want with it. Plus, they've put walls up where you can't ask things that the Chinese government doesn't want you finding out about. Like you can't ask about Tiananmen Square. You can't ask about the source of the coronavirus and stuff like that. It just won't come back with that stuff. The version on Perplexity will. Okay, so what I want you all to do to think about first is, and this is what's been blown my mind, is how to use AI with your own content. So, Olivia, the first thing I would say is if you go to your website, right, or go to either ChatGPT, or if you go to Perplexity and you can tell it to use R1, which is DeepSeek's reasoning model one. If you're paying for it, by the way, it's $20 a month if you're paying for it. And you can say, here's the link to my website. Give it a good description. People over 45 get better results from AI because we give it better instructions. So Olivia would say, I am a professional wedding planner in Portugal. I help couples plan weddings like this in these areas, this style, whatever it is. This is a link to my website. Tell me on my website, how would you update the wording for a mostly Gen Y and Gen Z audience? Right? Start with that, and it'll come back, read the words on your site, and come back and say, here's the original, here's how I would tweak it. That's the first thing we do. And then don't take it exactly the way it was. Read it through and say, hey, does that sound like me? Is that what I do? You could also ask it things about your website. Based upon my website, tell me, what do I do? Right? What services do I provide? And see if it's very clear to people coming to your site what the services are. You could ask it how good your SEO is. It'll come back with suggestions. Again, Don't take it 100%, but you're going to get some ideas there. You could also have it look at your social media the same way. And then the thing that I'm doing probably the most is asking it to get your reviews, or you can upload your reviews, which is even better, because when I asked it to do it, it found reviews for Allenberg Racing, which I would wish I had Allenberg Racing, but it's not. It's spelled, Allen is spelled differently, but I don't have Allenberg Racing, but that would be nice. But it was going to include that data. And I had to say, nope, that's not me. So if you upload your reviews, put them in a Word doc and upload them, that's a great way that you can know that the data that it's getting is purely your data. And then start asking it, what are you known for? What are the results people can expect? And different things like that. Ask it to find just single sentences from reviews that speak to the results that couples can expect when they choose you, or companies if you do corporate, or parents if you do mitzvahs or quinceas or things like that. But if you now take it from not the words that you've written, but from your reviews, it's a very strong place to start, because you tend to talk about what you can do for someone. Your reviews are people talking about what you did do. Now, the instruction, if you have some that are not less than great reviews, you can say to ignore any negative comments or outliers. You can put that in there as well. Give it that direction. That's another great way to do it. So the first place that I would start is with your own content, right? Some of the other things that I've done with it, I've taken a chapter in a book and asked it to reformat it for a magazine article, because I've written for that. You could take things you've done, take a blog post, ask it to give you 3 different social media posts based upon what you wrote in the blog post, right? Or vice versa, take social media posts and ask them to make it into a blog post. So this is the kind of thing you could do with your own content. I did my book, Why Are They Ghosting Me? I just published a version of that for anybody, not just for the wedding and event industry. So if you know anybody who does something other than weddings and events and would benefit from Why Are They Ghosting Me, I wanted to have a version for them. Well, obviously, I wanted to find all the references to weddings and events and change them to other types of businesses. So I uploaded one chapter at a time. And the reason one chapter at a time is because if I gave it the whole book, it just bogged down. It never got past page 43. But I had to give it the good instructions. I had to tell it what it was that I was giving it. I had to tell it who it was for. I gave it some suggestions for different types of businesses. And I said, find references to any wedding or event, or a wedding or event type business, and then change it to being good for real estate agents, senior living residences, dog trainers, physical therapists. I mean, that's what I did. I gave it all these different things. I told it to stay away from regulated industries like insurance, financial services, because I didn't want it to come back and give direction of something that might not be legal for those type of businesses. So this is the kind of better instructions I gave it. And then I read it all. I edited it myself. I went in and made changes. Was it good? Yeah, it was really good. But I went and made changes. This is where different models of AI can also come in. ChatGPT did a really good job at that. Perplexity did a really bad job because it kept trying to summarize my work. And I said, I don't want you to change the words in the book. I want you to change the references. And then it told me it couldn't do it because it was copyrighted. I said, I am the author. I authorize you to do this. And it still kept summarizing it. Now, I didn't have DeepSeek R1 at the time for that. So I don't know if it could have done as good or a better job. But Chat did a really good job. But again, I read it all. I'm in the process of doing that for Stop Selling and Help Them Buy. I've been through that. I need to run Grammarly on it now to check the grammar and the punctuation. And then that one will get published. And then I'm going to do Wit Wisdom in the Business of Weddings. So it's a faster way of doing it. Now, I've done this with Shut Up and Sell More, but that was a manual process. That was where I manually had to go and find all those references and change them. This way, it gave me a head start on that. So it was just a quicker way of getting there, but it was still my content. So Olivia and everybody listening, I would say, what content have you written that you can repurpose? What if you have blogs that you've written for years or haven't written blogs in years, but you have old ones? Could you ask it to update them for what your current audience is? So is that Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whoever it is? Well, not for weddings, Gen Alpha, right? But if you do parties for kids, that's Gen Alpha. Could you ask it to reword it or just update anything that's in there that's out of date? That's a great way of using it as well. So I'm going to do more episodes about how to use with your own content, but I wanted to give you a place to start with that because you have some great, great content that is languishing on Google, The Knot, Wedding Wire, and places in your reviews. And then you have old blogs and things like that. You can start repurposing that and using AI to do other things with it. And that's where the real magic is going to happen of using AI with your own content. So Olivia, thanks for getting us started on this. Again, I'm going to cut us off here because I could go on literally for hours on this because I'm doing workshops on this. But if you need my help with it, you know where to find me for consulting. But Olivia, thank you so much. And anybody else, Ask Me Anything is right at podcast.allenberg.com. There's a big button there that says Ask Me Anything. Put your submission in and you might be on a new episode. Thanks. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or guest, please go to podcast.allenberg.com and you can make your suggestion there. You can also do it at Ask Me Anything, which is a button on that page, or just email me at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. And if you'd like to find out how I can help you with sales training, website review, consulting, or speaking for your group or organization, possibly at no cost to the organization, contact me directly, alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. Thanks again for tuning in.